The Mead of Poetry is a legendary drink from Scandinavian mythology, a sip of which gifted anyone who tried it with marvelous poetic abilities. Many have heard of it, but not many know where such a miracle came from, and that's today's story. There was a period when the tribes of the gods were at odds with each other. The glorious Aesir and the skilled Vanir clashed in battle, but gods quickly realized that their forces were equal and that their blood was being spilled in vain. They then decided to make peace. Each of the gods spat into the cup of reconciliation, and each of them drank from it. And from the remains of their saliva, a creature appeared, which they called Kvasir. Kvasir was so wonderful and wise that gods adored him with all their hearts, and he became the embodiment of peace between them. But the wisest Kvasir could not remain long in the halls of the gods, since his heart longed to share his wisdom. He wandered through the worlds for a very long time, until finally he came to the world Svartalfheim, to the dwarves. Passing from one dwelling of the gnomes to another, Kvasir met two dwarven brothers, Fjalar and Galar. The dwarves envied Kvasir's intelligence and planned something evil. They invited the wanderer to rest in their house, and then, in his sleep, they slaughtered him, and then drained his blood and mixed it with bee honey. The drink that resulted from this mixture had a miraculous property. Anyone who tried it at least once became a wonderfully skilled poet. But it brought neither happiness nor wisdom to the evil brothers. Fearing the wrath of the gods, the dwarves spread a rumor that Kvasir died of suffocation from his own wisdom, since there was no man on land with whom he could share it. But a giant named Gilling learned of their secrets, and the dwarves bragged to him about their magic honey. Fjalar and Galar suddenly realized that they would not live long if the giant told someone about their secret, and they dealt cruelly with him by drowning him in the sea. The deceased giant's son named Suttungr learned of this and became furious. Suttungr came to the land of the dwarves to take revenge. He took the murderers by surprise and took them far out to the sea, to a rock that was hidden underwater during high tide. Fjalar and Galar did not want to die, so they promised the giant to give all their honey to him as ransom for his father's blood. Suttungr knew that the dwarves have the mead of poetry hidden, so he agreed to spare their lives if this treasure was given to him. They indeed gave the mead to the giant, and Suttungr hid the vessels of mead, there were 3 of them, inside a rock near his home, and ordered his beautiful daughter Gunnlöd to guard them. It turned out that Odin, the All-Father, learned of this and ordered Fjalar and Galar to be punished. And in the meantime, he decided to steal the Mead of Poetry and take it to Valhalla. He cunningly got a job with Suttungr's younger brother, the gullible giant Bogi. Disguised as a young man and calling himself Bölverk, he worked for Bogi all summer and autumn, and as payment he took Bogi's promise that he would help him get a sip of the magic drink. Bölverk worked hard all summer and autumn, and finally the time came for payment. The young man had long ago noticed where Suttungr hid his treasure, but he did not know where the entrance to the hiding place was. And then Bölverk decided to ask Bogi to drill an entrance into the rock with his magic drill. The giant did not want to betray his brother, but he still had to keep the promise, so he drilled just a small hole. He was sure that such a small little thing would not help the worker steal the honey. Suddenly, Bogi was amazed to see that Bölverk had turned into a tiny worm and slid into the hole. The giant then realized who his worker was, became furious and tried to kill the worm with the drill, but it was too late. Inside the rock, Odin took on his true form and appeared before Suttungr's daughter in all the splendor of his beauty. Gunnlöd was surprised to see the stranger, but she neither screamed nor cried. On the contrary, she was happy. Gunnlöd had long dreamed of love and long waited for the one to whom she could give her heart. But she was smart and understood that the handsome stranger had not come to the cave for her sake. Gunnlöd waited for him to ask about the mead, but Odin almost forgot about it for a while. He liked the girl so much that he sincerely confessed his feelings and spent 3 days and 3 nights with her in the cave. Only on the 4th day did Odin decide that it was time to leave, and he asked Gunnlöd to give him the honey. Then she said, "I knew that you would not be with me for long, but I regret nothing. For the 3 nights that you spent with me, take 3 sips of honey." No matter how sorry Odin was for the girl, he wanted to get all the honey. He drained all 3 vessels in 3 sips. The giantess understood everything and led him to the secret passage that she used herself. Odin embraced his beloved and, turning into an eagle, flew out of the cave. But to his misfortune, Suttungr himself decided to visit his hiding place at that time, and he already approached the entrance to the cave. Seeing the eagle, the giant immediately realized that it was no ordinary bird. Suttungr himself turned into an eagle and rushed in pursuit. 2 mighty birds fly across the sky, eagles rushing faster than the wind. The second eagle catches up with the first to take back what is rightfully his, but the first eagle desperately rushes to the heavenly palace. The gods know that their father will return home with glorious spoils, and the Aesir are already here to meet him, carrying a golden cup to the fortress wall. With his last strength, Odin flew over the fortress wall and spat the mead into the cup. Suttungr did not dare to fly further, as he was afraid of the formidable army and returned home in impotent rage. The Mead of Poetry has been in Asgard since then, and Bragi, the skald of the gods, guarded it. Bragi and Odin give poetic gifts only to those mortals who have intelligence, imagination, and a noble heart. But some people became poets differently. They say that Suttungr almost caught up with Odin, and the All-Father released some of the honey through his back passage. This honey was not collected, and anyone who wanted to try it could get it, and it was called the share of the rhymers.